Hey there, welcome to the Midlife Freedom Podcast. It's great to have you here. If we've not met before, my name's Lindsay. It's so nice to see you. Thanks for returning. If you've been here before, and if you're new, welcome to the community. So today on the podcast, we are talking all about the midlife journey and trusting the process, which I know it sounds a bit crazy, but midlife opens up a whole new chapter for us and a whole new opportunity. And we've kind of got to change how we think about things. And when we do that, everything changes. So I'm going to share that with you today. I'm going to share 5 ways that you can really trust in your midlife journey and how that really enhances it and actually makes life so much happier. So if you enjoy what you hear today, please subscribe, please like the episode, because that really helps to grow the podcast and help other women to enjoy this journey. So that would be awesome. Thank you. So right, let's jump right in. Okay, so I have made notes, so you'll see me looking over at my notes all the time because I don't want to just blather on. The first thing about midlife that so people search for, and in my market research, I've seen people search for, or talk about losing their purpose in midlife. And it's almost like for so long, we've had all of these parameters on us and measurements and guides and what success really looks like. And now that we're in midlife, there is no success criteria. And all of kind of the goalposts, they've gone. And it's a little bit wild and a little bit bizarre. But once we can kind of play our minds at their own game, it becomes a real benefit and it becomes a real winner, actually. And it's really cool. So if you can forget the timeline entirely, so if you think about up till now, okay, you've always had goalposts and you've kind of been against the ages of, the kids. And I always talk about, going back to the kids, because that's kind of like the last 20 or so years. Before that, of course, you had things like, whether you're getting married, whether you're buying your first house, whether you're having a career. And then more recently, 20 years, right? More recently, it's about the kids, and the kids are going to, starting school and then starting secondary school and then maybe going to university and maybe even buying their own first places, who knows? And here we are now thinking, okay, the only goalposts that society has put in for us now are kind of retirement and death. It's like, whoa, that's really inspirational. There is nothing for us now that we're in our 50s. If you're here with me, you're in your 50s. From 50s until retirement, and there's nothing. So if society has given us no timelines, then we can't be putting pressure on ourselves, because what's the point? What are we racing for? There has never been a more, let's say, exciting time than living for today, because there's nothing else that we've decided, is worth measuring against. So it's really about harnessing today, and not because, we're getting on and we haven't got that much time, and that might be one way of looking at it, but it's because we don't have any goalposts now. We're our own judges. So how about we be really nice to ourselves and say, actually, do you know what? Anything that I do, anything that I achieve now, I'm winning. Because the only person actually measuring it is you. And that's it. And then, hopefully, if you're lucky at some stage, you'll have kids' weddings to go to and grandkids coming along, and that's fine. But you've got this time right now, and you might be in your 50s and grandparents. I'm nowhere near there yet, unless my kids haven't told me something. I'm not even thinking about being a grandparent yet, thinking that's way off in the future. I mean, I'm 54. I've got so much, hopefully, time to play with. Nobody knows, and I don't be morbid about this, nobody knows when they're going to go. So how about we use this time now to just let your fears disappear, let your fears go, let the judgments go, and say, you know what? It's now down to me to achieve whatever I want to. You've got every rule to break and no rules to break, because there is no expectation on you. So, yeah, go us in midlife. That's what I say. Okay, so that's one thing. So the path is absolutely yours to create. Let me just see if there's any other points I want to say. You can't compare yourself to anybody else, because what's the point? There's no markers. And more than anything, it's just, what about if you woke up every day and said, actually, perhaps I'm in the perfect place. Perhaps I'm exactly where I need to be right now, and everything I've achieved to date is a winner. And anything that I can achieve from now on is also a winner. And isn't that a refreshing way of looking at life? I mean, you can just take the pressure off your shoulders. Oh, just let that go. In fact, just let that go. There you go. Doesn't that feel better? Okay, so a real common feeling with the women that I coach, and also last year I spent a whole year really building on Instagram a midlife focused Instagram page. And so, of course, I was digging into midlife groups and all sorts of masterminds and everything full of midlife women, lots of Facebook groups, oh God, full of midlife women. And so many people are saying, I've lost my purpose and I feel really stuck. So feeling stuck is a really common thing. And it's basically because we're at this crossroads. And whenever you're at a crossroads, the easiest thing to choose is to be stuck. And I'm not saying you choose it consciously, but if you unconsciously, because there is no set way forward, because as I said, the criteria is gone, there is no menu for what you do at midlife. It's very easy to kind of be a bit blinded by the choice, actually. And so as we have any choice in front of us, there's no given choice. We have to create it, which is why it's a really fun time, but it can be a really intimidating time. Because when in your life have you ever had, or can you ever remember having this much choice and no expectation? So it's really easy to feel like you're stuck and you're in full-on procrastination because you've got to come up with the answers. And I'm hoping that podcasts like this and being in mastermind groups or being in groups that support you and encourage you to be all that you can be now, and to harness your passions and your interests and meet new people, I'm hoping those sorts of environments are going to be the ones that really encourage you to go for new goals and to achieve new things and to really start enjoying every day and making the most of every single day. So they're the first two. So one is to forget the timeline, and number two is if you're feeling stuck, this is how to find out what's next. Number three is success looks different now because there's nothing measuring you. Success is purely how you see success right now. So let's say going to the gym, for example. It's very midlife, huge thing about putting on weight and looking after your health, and anything that you used to do doesn't seem to work anymore. And just going for a run apparently just raises your cortisol, so you hang on to more fat and all this other really overwhelming stuff. I've always been into fitness. So the fact now that I just feel like that I can't resort to my old ways, I'm still trying to play with that in my head and just get that sorted out because, so frustrating, as I'm sure you well know. Anyway, so if you manage to conquer that, please comment below. Let me know what's going on. I recorded a podcast with a lady called Kim Hines last year, and she tackles this exact problem. And it's all about changing the way we think about things and changing what success looks like, but also unraveling what's been and unraveling our old behaviours and our old hang-ups and limiting beliefs. Because a lot of that is kind of what we've brought with us to today. And so now what's right for us as we move forward and what's going to get us to our next level of success? Because success to you might look like you're going to the gym once a week more than you used to, or it might look like you tried a different exercise rather than what you used to resort to. Success might be a week where you've got no joint pain, and not wishing to sound, old and crumbly, but in menopause, joint pain is an absolute humdinger. So any of these things, whatever success looks like, you get to decide. You don't need to measure it against anybody else anymore because the measurements aren't relevant. None of them matter. It's entirely down to you and how you feel you're progressing and making success. And quite frankly, if you have days where you actually rest, that might be the best success because that's never been anything that we've been encouraged to do. But as we step into this time of life and this awakening, which is also something I talk about, actually resting and acknowledging what your body needs is a real win. I mean, sometimes the fact that I might even have a nap, which, oh God, I fight anything like that. But to do something like that, or I would go for a long walk rather than a run, that's successful, which previously I'd have thought that was a cop-out. But you're learning just to deal with your body in a different way and to deal with your expectations in a different way. So that's the main point. Whatever success looks like, it's only up to you now. You're the only one who gets to judge it. That's number 3. Number 4, not sure what to do. So now I get to talk about something that I love so much, trusting your intuition and really settling into listening for messages, finding the peace and quiet. And maybe so whether you find that peace and quiet by sitting quietly in meditation, or maybe you go out to the forest, or you go while swimming, anything like that, that you get quiet enough that you can listen to your own wisdom. And I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive because you are actually listening to my podcast right now, but I cannot encourage you enough to start trusting your own intuition, because in midlife, it's almost like it kind of blows up because we've been so busy looking after everybody else and trusting our mama bear wisdom, or whatever you want to call it, trusting that guidance. But now you've stepped into this whole new season of life. And this new season of life is all about you knowing the answers. You've got 50 years, give or take a few, potentially. You've got 50 years of wisdom behind you. Do you not think you've learned a thing or two by bringing up kids and having a career and juggling family life and juggling the school system and juggling family eating and all the other stuff? You have got so much wisdom to tap into. So start trusting yourself and start listening to yourself, because that's when you can gain such incredible insights. Now, if I can just share a way that one of the ways that I do to really allow myself the time, first of all, is starting habit. So I do meditate daily, and I started just with a small amount of time, and now I actually meditate for 22 minutes and 22 seconds every single morning. Set my timer on my phone, and then I just sit with my eyes closed. You could start with 30 seconds. You could start with 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and build up, whatever. But by setting a timer for yourself, you take off any pressure to have to look at the time, because it will just be for you, and that's perfect, because that means no matter where you've been with your thoughts, they come to a natural end, and you can trust that boundary is there for you. So that's one thing. Or going for a walk in the forest, but don't take a podcast, don't take anything to listen to. And if you're listening to this right now whilst you're walking, thank you very much for allowing me to come with you. I feel privileged that I'm allowed to be with you in your time, because this is special time. But allow yourself some quiet time. Maybe just pause this for a bit, actually. allow yourself quiet time every single day to start to listen to your own thoughts. And I remember describing this on a podcast a while ago, and it sounds weird, but I start to, because all the thoughts are going to keep coming in, because they always do. They're thoughts, they're our conscious mind trying to manage things and be logical, solve problems. But one way to kind of nurture this is to listen to the space between your ears. And I know that sounds really silly, but if you try it, you'll know what I mean. And if you sit for long enough, you will tune into, you start to hear the energy in the room. Now, I know that sounds a bit wild, so you probably need to give it a go. Alternatively, you might know exactly what I'm talking about. But close your eyes and just let anything else go and literally listen to the vibration. Almost imagine that there's a wave going between your ears. Listen to the vibration between your ears. And ridiculously enough, it becomes quite loud. But whilst you're focusing on that, you'll be amazed at how clear your mind goes, but how clear any thoughts or messages that do come in, how clear they become. So that's one way of doing it. Another way is to tune right into your heart. And so you can meditate and just imagine that you're taking your energy down into your heart. And you breathe into your heart and you just allow, and you might notice that there's a red color, but just notice how your heart feels. And you could ask it a question, or you can just sort of, imagine that you're listening to your heartbeat and your whole nervous system relaxes and your whole stress levels drop. Your breathing slows down and it becomes a remarkably peaceful place to be. And it also allows you to tune into your own wisdom. And I can think of nothing better for you than to start trusting yourself more and making your voice louder than people's within your own, your own body, your own being. Okay. So that's number 4. And then number 5 is actually all about rebuilding your confidence. Now, I've just done a whole episode about rebuilding your confidence. So you can listen to that, but alternatively, here's the very little short version. The whole idea of building your confidence is we are in a place that we've never been before. And we're in a place that society doesn't really know what to do with us. And rather than us just, be old, we are, especially our generation, we are waking up to how much potential there is right now and how much there is to live for. And we get this whole second go around to relaunch, to have a second chapter. It's about the 5th chapter by now, isn't it? By the time we've had, all the stuff before, and then you going, as I say, going from you're a kid, and then you're growing up, and then you're maybe going into your adult years and working and having a family and married and whatever else it might be. All of those are chapters, and now you're in this new chapter. And so, what better time is there to trust yourself? You've got all the wisdom, and if you think about when you read a book and you go through all of the chapters, by the time you've got to, let's say, you're past halfway, because that's midlife, right? You're past halfway in this book. You've got a fairly good idea of characters in the book. You've got a fairly good idea of what's going on. There's still the whole end to go. There's still all of this, extra adventure to go on in the book. But all the wisdom that you've gained so far in those past chapters, you get to bring to your your everyday life now. And so really find a way to tune into yourself. It might be by doing yoga or being in nature or while swimming or walking with a weighted vest, without a weighted vest, with walking poles, without walking poles, with friends or whatever. Although I would actually recommend also having some time to walk on your own, because there is nothing like listening to your own thoughts. And just when your breathing gets to regulate, then you start to really tune into your own wisdom. And it is a fantastic source of information to trust about what's next. Now, I'll talk about this in another in a different episode a bit more. But when you're thinking about what comes next, or what are my passions, what do I really enjoy, what do I really want to grab onto and spend my time doing, or maybe even find more purpose with, what do I want to do now? There is no better way than actually asking yourself the question and seeing how that feels. Does that feel exciting? Does it make you feel kind of bubbly and effervescent, or does it actually feel quite heavy and like, oh, if I had all the time in the world, would I really want to do that? Yeah, no, I don't think so. So trust that and absolutely start to go with that. If it's something that feels really exciting, and it doesn't matter how wild a way out it is, allow yourself to just dream into that situation and then just take the small steps to make it happen. So one of the dreams that I've really been leading into is places to travel around the world. And it's really interesting now that the places that I want to travel are becoming new and adventurous and way beyond anything that I ever thought as kind of like a family holiday. And now I'm thinking about, I want to go to Sedona, to the Red Rocks, to the meditation spots, and I want to go to Machu Picchu, and I want to maybe do some of the Camino Trail. I want to go riding in Peru. All of these things. There are so many things. Oh, and India as well. I'd love to go to an ashram in India. That never appealed to me 5 years ago, even probably 3 years ago. It didn't even appeal to me. But now that I'm in my own thoughts and really allowing those ideas to expand, climb a mountain, for heaven's sakes. How many people go and train up and climb things like Kilimanjaro, walking? I mean, I don't mean like, sort of north face of the Himalayas, although saying that might be something that you want to do. But you can. That's what's so exciting. You absolutely can do that. There are people who've done it before. So, start reading a book or watching a film about it or joining a group that does it. Because I tell you what, you'll find enough online groups that you could train with to do anything you want to do right now. It's a really, really exciting time. So whatever it is that you want to do, write it in the comments below, because I'd love to know what it is that you would really love to do when you let your thoughts go, really big, or they might be really small. Put it in the comments below, because let's all share those wild and exciting things that we get to do now that we're in midlife and in this chapter. And I really look forward to reading those. I can't wait. So before we go, can I ask, if you've enjoyed this and you haven't subscribed yet, please hit subscribe. Please hit the like button. It allows more people to find the podcast. It allows YouTube to realise that more midlife women need to see this podcast, because it can be helpful and it can be inspiring. And I am always available on social media, on Instagram at I am Lindsay DeSwart. Please come and follow me over there. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I am so grateful and I so appreciate you being here. And I can't wait to see you in the next episode.